Okay, welcome everyone to the August 6th meeting of the Douglas County Board of Education. The first item on the agenda is student and staff recognitions. We have our Superintendent, Dr. Fagan, and I'll ask Directors Mendoza and Silverthorne to help out with the awards, recognitions of our students and staff.
Okay, good evening. Ooh, that was loud. The Board of Education is proud to recognize the achievement of two of our fantastic students, one amazing team, and one of our great athletic directors tonight. First, I'd like to invite up Amy Yolin and Kristen Autret. You guys come on up. Amy Yolin of Highlands Ranch High School and Kristen Autret from Legend High School, and I saw Principal Mr. Wise back there in his blue. Both ladies were selected as youth ambassadors for the Making Colorado Summer Internship Program. This is the most collaborative branding initiative ever undertaken by a state. The governor's office selected 64 Colorado teenagers from across the state, including Amy and Kristen, to be youth ambassadors. They were charged with creating visual and written content to capture the culture, voice, and vibe of their local communities. Then they shared those stories through social media. We understand that they even celebrated the accomplishments of the district in one of their tweets. Thank you so much and congratulations. If you guys don't mind, I'm just going to ask you, so what was that like representing the district at the governor's initiative? Stage fright, sorry. I didn't mean to surprise you.
It was amazing. Quite an experience.
It was a good experience? How about for you?
Oh, it's kind of honoring to have this, because there aren't many people who got chosen for this, and it's a lot.
There's a lot of teenagers in Colorado, right? And you guys are two of a small group, so that was excellent. Did you apply to do this?
Yeah.
And you wore did you and Mr. Wise coordinate your wardrobes today? Both wore your blue? Yeah, look at that, I knew that. All right.
Legend blue.
The Legend Blue, that's right. Anyway, congratulations and thank you so much. We are so proud that you represent our school district and our community. Thanks. Next, I'd like to ask Bob Nelson, the Thunder Ridge High School Athletic Director, to come forward. Is he in the hallway?
Yeah, he's coming.
Oh, there he, all right. Bob was named the 2013 5A Athletics Administrator of the Year. He accepted the award on April 29 during the CADA's annual award banquet at the Omni Resort in Broomfield. Bob never even planned to be an athletic director. Is that right? Is this true? His passion has always been coaching, and he coached wrestling for 27 years, football for 20 years, and baseball for 10 years. 12 years ago, though, like happens to all talented people, the Thunder Ridge's then principal asked him to apply for the job because the staff thought he would be the absolute best person for the position. It may be also surprising to learn that he would have never been a coach if it was not for the prompting of some great mentors. And while we have Bob up, well, first of all, let's congratulate Bob on his Okay, don't leave yet. So while we have Bob up here, we would like to invite one of his favorite teams, and I'm sure like me, he has many, right? Many favorite teams. Thunder Ridge High School boys baseball team and Coach Joe White to come on up. High School's baseball team claimed its second 5A state title by sweeping the championship series. The team clinched the state championship on Saturday, May 25th with a 2-1 come-from-behind victory against Rocky Mountain at All City Field in Denver. Congratulations and well done, 2 in a row. So I don't mean to pick on you, but you are standing next to me. So I'm just wondering, is it going to be 3 in a row?
Oh, yeah, it is.
All right, that's what we want to hear. That's good answer. How was it winning 2 in a row?
It's pretty great. I thought it was the most fun I've ever had on a baseball field, so I'm sure all these guys thought it was too.
Anybody that was the captain, the person in charge? No? Oh, he's not admitting it. Anything you want to add about this major championship? Won 2 in a row. Was it hard? Was it easy? Did you enjoy it? Was it hot?
No, it seemed hard. I mean, like, preparing for it, and we actually played. It seems hard.
I think that's all in the coach's plan. Congratulations to all of you, and thanks for coming tonight. We're very proud of what you've done.
You can overlap a little bit. Sorry. All right, everybody smile. You don't have to lean like that. Here we go. As long as I can see your faces. 1, 2, 3. One more time. Your parents or anything like that? Want to sneak up real quick?
One more. Thank you. Congratulations. And that concludes our recognitions for tonight.
Next we have superintendent reports from Dr. Fagan and her staff.
Great. I'd like to start the superintendent's reports tonight with a glimpse at the first day of school. We actually had a few schools start on Monday, and Randy and his team were able to be there. I was there, Bonnie was out, lots of us were out, and it was a great back-to-school day. So we have a little video to share that with everyone, and we'd like to start with that.
With summer still in full bloom,
I think it's going to be fun.
it's time for students and teachers to return to the classrooms in Douglas County.
I'm really excited.
The first day of school is just contagious. And you come here and they are so excited. They have their backpacks, they are dressed up usually in some sort of outfit that they just love. And they're excited to see their friends and see who their teachers and find their desk.
It's only natural that it's time for a few tears as well.
I don't want to go.
Is summer still going on?
Yes.
First day of school is butterflies, but then there's stuff that is for the kids and for the teachers.
Excited and ready to rock. I had this opportunity to meet my first graders
on Friday, we have an open house, so that helps with the nerves, and we're ready to go.
I really want to go to school now.
It is this excitement for a new year and new adventures that will power the learning inside of our schools.
How do we treat each other on the playground?
And at Middleview, that means exploring a new educational model.
Definitely artful learning.
One that will eventually infuse the arts, like dance, music, into just about everything they do.
Do you get to make the choices and decisions about how you want to decorate your roar? Wally?
Love all the teachers, love the staff, and we're excited about the new Artful Learning program that they're putting in place this year.
Of course, trying something new and innovative doesn't happen overnight.
These teachers and many others throughout the district came together this summer and went through Artful Learning training, and they are completely rethinking the way that they're going to deliver instruction to these children.
Long before students lined up, Middleview's teachers were hard at work learning how to change their teaching techniques. This is a scene that was repeated again and again across the district this summer. At DCSD, educators volunteered for sessions that allowed them to learn the skills
We're all learning this and we're all becoming experts.
and try new types of instruction that are reshaping American education and will ensure our students get the 21st century skills they need. All of that work will pay off as the hallways and classrooms of our schools begin to fill back up.
When we achieve, that means doing our very best.
At Meadowview, you sense the common goal of all involved permeating the building.
Look how busy they are.
And with the door closing on another summer break, you can feel the environment of world-class education starting to take shape here and across the district.
Okay, and next we'd like to move on to, I believe Dan McMenemy is, Co-Code Robotics, is going to do a presentation tonight with members of his team celebrating 2 unique opportunities in Douglas County, both our new Code Club and our robotics for our students. So with that, I'd like to introduce Dan McMenemy.
Good evening. It's a tremendous honor for me to introduce Dr. Mark Schaefer. He's our head of middle school director, and he's brought some distinguished guests this evening to talk to you about 2 club opportunities that are happening at our middle schools. As you know, we are tremendously excited about the opportunities for students in our buildings, not only what happens in the classrooms during the day, but the clubs and activities that happen afterwards. So with that, Dr. Mark Schaefer and some distinguished guests.
So good evening, and we do indeed have some distinguished guests for you this evening. There's some extraordinary things happening at the middle level every day, and that's due to the talents of our teachers and our students. And tonight we want to share with you 3 examples, actually, of some great work. So first I'd like to introduce to you Tiffany Vaughn. Tiffany is a teacher from Ranch View Middle School, and she has brought with her 5 very dapper-looking young men who are all in bow ties. And then following Tiffany's presentation, we have Cam Rudolph. Cam is a teacher from Rocky Heights Middle School, and he's brought a team. He's going to talk to you about his robotics club, as well as a district robotics club competition. So first, Tiffany.
I just want to first start by saying that here in my hand on my cell phone is an app that was created this summer by some distinguished young men. So I'm going to introduce them first. And not all of them are here tonight, just 5 out of 30. Daniel Petito, and we have Konstantin Zaremski, and Andrew Holmes, Adam Immelkamp, and Neil Trotter. Young men are in 7th grade at Ranch View Middle School. You can have a seat, thank you. And what I want to let you know is that in the 4th quarter of the year last year, at Ranch View, I watched a movie called What Most Schools Don't Teach. And after watching the movie, I had a feeling that I was supposed to start a club at my school. So I started the Code Club, and each week more students started to come. And as Mr. Chris Cutter said, they came out of the microchip. You know, they were coming out constantly, wanting to be in this club. And they said, we've been waiting for you to do this. And so we started the club, And we found out that within the club, we had someone who had designed an app. He had a vision for an app, Konstantin Zaremski. And Konstantin, come stand up here with me. I have to say that when I first met Konstantin, I had no idea what I had in my club. I didn't realize that I had a young man like Konstantin who had the kind of vision that he does at 7th grade level. And so once he shared with me his vision, I said, well, we need to build it. So we began planning. And I got to go to Rock Canyon High School's MIT session for 2 days with Will Smith, who helped the Rock Canyon team build it out. And then I had some people from the district and also Konstantin's father come and help me. I have to say thank you to the senior software developer for Douglas County School District, Joe Yankalana. He helped download the Eclipse environment development software so that we could develop the app. We also want to thank Cody Wright, who's one of the IT helpers in the Douglas County School District Software Department. We also want to say thank you to Konstantin's father, who's with Hitachi Consulting, Dale Zaremski. We also want to thank James McMurphy, my principal, for his encouragement and support in implementing a computer science extending learning opportunity both before and after school. All right, have a seat, because I have one more thing to read, Konstantin. Okay, the last thing I want to say is this. This summer, after I started this club, Representative Congressman Jared Polis from Colorado and Congresswoman Susan W. Brooks from Indiana introduced a bipartisan bill that would strengthen computer science opportunities in the nation's K-12 classrooms. It's called the Computer Science Education Act. And it allows federal funding to be set aside for core academic subjects to be used in support of computer science efforts in schools. And this is groundbreaking because it's extending all the way down to kindergarten. And so I'm excited about what we're doing at Ranch View, but I want to see more schools get involved with allowing students to do the things that these students are doing. So now I'm going to introduce Konstantin Zaremski. Come on up.
Hello, my name is Konstantin Zaremski, and I'm the project manager and creator of the RVMS app. With the fast-paced classes, short passing periods, and an ever-growing stack of work, the school year can become quite stressful for many students. The RVMS app, in simplest form, is a student organizer. This is the home screen, which is the central place where all the programs and features can be accessed. The icons can be easily identified, and underneath the program name, there's a brief description of what each one does. Now I'm passing over to Adam Emmelkamp.
This is announcements. Hello, my name is Adam Emmelkamp. I specialize in the interface design of our app, and our school has announcements that go through sports and other events. And what this basically does is it lets us see it, and then it has a text-based feed at the bottom of it to summarize it. The Google Drive part of the app is essentially a small internet view of Google Drive, allowing students to access all their files and projects. The school directory. The lookup process on the Douglas County School District website is complicated and inefficient in my opinion. With the directory now within the app, people could search for someone by their name and results would instantly pop up. I'm handing it to and Daniel Petito.
Hello, my name is Daniel Petito and I work on the graphics of the app. Like the physical planner, students can jot down assignments and test dates. Touching the calendar icon in the bottom right corner of the app takes you to the calendar section of the planner. The calendar feature is similar to the monthly calendars in a physical student planner. It will run using the Google Calendar API. All of that day's events are listed on a sticky note to the right. The function of digital classwork is in the name. The teachers will send out an assignment that they create to the students. Once the students have completed it, the teacher will grade it. It will then be sent back to the student once more and put under the old and graded section.
Hello, my name is Andrew Holmes and I work on the storyboard of the app. The notes section of the digital classwork, of course, is a notebook. The students can type in the notes, or if the teacher wants, they can email the notes to the students who can then copy and paste the email text right into the notebook. The gradebook is a framed web view of Infinite Campus District Edition. Infinite Campus is an online gradebook system. Having it within close reach through our app will make it all the more convenient for the students of RVMS. In the IB Learner page, students can review the values and traits that characterize an IB learner and 21st century learner. For example, when the user touches the book icon, the knowledgeable screen shows up stating the definition and example ways that the student can apply that trait. The RVMS app has everything a student could ever want, yet does not overwhelm the student with features. It will definitely help many students at RVMS app to implement this app.
boys really do work together as a team in collaboration, and all of them have different strengths, bringing them to the table. And right now our app is presently on a private server being hosted by one of our parents, and we're working right now with the IT department to develop a web server host site so that every student at Ranch View can have this app on their device or on a computer at home.
Hello, thank you for having me. Is this on? Okay, I'm going to talk real loud. I'm Cameron Randolph. I'm at Rocky Heights Middle School. About 7 years ago, I proposed a robotics club to Miss Deerberger, and she was all on board with that. And we got real involved in first Lego League, and I started looking around when I was at the competition, first Lego League, and I didn't see any other Douglas County schools involved in there. There's a Douglas County school there. It was, I believe, a charter school or somebody, but it wasn't one of our 9 middle schools. It was only 7 at that time. But over the years, I kind of started getting interested in seeing what other schools had. And I proposed the spring of 2012. I went before the athletic directors and I said, I would love to have a robotics competition. And we would kind of move ourselves in a direction to have what we now call a robotics team. And I proposed a competition, and I'm proud to say that we were able to have 2 competitions this past school year, one in the spring, one in the fall. Rocky Heights hosted the first one in the fall. We had 5 of the 9 middle schools all participate, and then in the spring, we had 6 of the middle schools. In fact, 3 of those young men right there participated at Ranch View in the robotics competition. So it's kind of exciting. Ourselves and Mountain Ridge were the only 2 schools that had a robotics program. And so bringing a couple people on board. This is Coleman Hilsenberger. He's at Rocky Heights. This is Nadine Kopp. she's at Cimarron, and they started the robotics program due to this competition. And I don't know how we're doing on time. Great. Okay? Mr. Hilsenegger will address just very quickly how we run a robotics team at Rocky Heights. And then I think Ms. Kopp will address what it was like to come on and what the competition was like, if that's okay.
Thanks again for having us. But yeah, so Rocky Heights, we have an enrichment program that we do. We run it all year long. We usually have about 30 kids, 30 to 40 kids in that enrichment program. And they kind of work as a team to build a bot. We also do an after-school program as well to kind of get them more ready for the competition. And that competition is going to be in November of this year. We expect about the same amount of kids, 30 to 40 kids. With the amount of kits that we have, they have to work in teams of 2 to 3 to kind of accomplish some challenges. So what we brought here is, this is this summer, I ran a robotics class at our school. This summer we had about 10 kids that did this. This is just one student. He put together this bot. This is a very simple bot. He put this together in about 2 days. He programmed it to follow this black line. This is actually one of the things that we do in the competition. It's called the black line test, and the objective is to get the robot to follow the black line all the way to the end in the fastest amount possible. And again, he put this together in probably 2 days, just from start to finish. So I'll play this for you, just kind of get an idea of what we do in robotics. And this student wasn't part of our robotics team during the year. He just did the class as something extra to do over the summer. And so he'd never worked with robotics before, so it was kind of cool to watch him put all this together in just 2 days. So this is the black line test.
I was going to say, while that's going, because it'll take a couple minutes, we might keep moving, they can watch that.
Yeah. So,
okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who wants to listen to me while there's a robot on the big screen? As Cam said, he presented to the athletic directors of the middle schools the notion of expanding the program of Robotics Club to all of our middle schools. Chris Zimmerman, the athletic director at Cimarron, came to me in the spring of 2012 and asked me if I'd be interested as one of our science teachers, and I eagerly accepted that opportunity. It's an opportunity for me to collaborate across the district with other teachers to provide this enrichment opportunity for students to engage in STEM education outside of school. I piloted immediately that month. We started with just our 8th graders, and so this following year we had the largest robotics club in the district. And and we hit the ground running. We had some of the 8th graders who piloted come back and mentor our younger students, which was a really great way for students to connect and communicate with each other, and the collaboration was amazing as they work in groups to do this. Part of our collaboration was moving from the fall competition, where we had some basic tasks for students to do, like follow black line or sumo wrestling, and to the spring, where we had some higher level challenges, such as the open design. By the way, Constantine, he's like famous now in the robot world. So we're looking forward to hopefully Cimarron hosting in November the 3rd district competition and adding a few extra engineering tasks for students to compete in.
Well, we also took 2 teams to state last semester, so we took a little break from robotics. I just want to add that. That's why we had no numbers. We took them to state and science Olympiad, by the way. I do want to recognize my principal now, Mike Whites. He was very supportive of me proposing this. And it's been a nice support for our program. So I really thank you for having us.
Well, congratulations to all of you for creating these opportunities for our students, and congratulations to the student team from Ranchview for that amazing app that you developed in not very many months. So very well done, high quality, very impressive, very proud of the work that you have done. And also proud of Tiffany Bond for having this idea and sticking with it, because everybody is so busy, and to have an idea, it's, you can have a great idea and say, yeah, that's a great idea, but I have all this other stuff. And she said, no, this is something I really feel like I need to do. And she wrote grants for it. She earned the dollars to buy the equipment for these students, and she has volunteered her time all summer to work with them when they wanted to. And so I know there's been some hours of tattered cover for you guys this summer working on your app. But congratulations on your work and for representing it here tonight. And to the robotics team, who was very humble, but they have won a lot too and done some amazing things, not just here locally, but internationally. So congratulations to you for the work you've done. And clearly, the students who are engaged in these opportunities are developing skills that will be so important to them and to their future. So I thank you on behalf of all those students and families for giving them the opportunity of your time and expertise and bringing this learning to this relevant space. So thank you. Next, I'd like to, I'm not exactly sure if Bill or Dan is doing this, but I'd like to introduce Bill Moffitt, because he stood up. And I did see Mr. Schneider here too. He walked in at one point. And I want to tell you, this all started with a few teachers at Castleview High School who had a vision for something different for their students. And they brought forward the idea that this Project Citizen, so I'm not sure if Mr. Schneider's going to have a chance to talk about that or not, but brought forward this idea of Project Citizen. Students did this work. They emailed me, and some of you actually attended their sort of fair where they presented their work. And we were so just really proud and amazed by a couple of the projects that we would like to bring them to you because we would like to move them forward in our school district. So these are student projects that they developed, presented to us, and Mr. Bill Moffitt is going to tell you the rest of the story. So with that.
Actually, you have the privilege of not hearing it from me, but from the kids themselves. And what I would like to say is when this came to the superintendent's cabinet, my ears perked up. Some 20 odd years ago, I had a vision that there would be some kind of internship or apprenticeship where students could connect with professionals that work for the school district, namely in our operations and maintenance department. And it didn't really go anywhere 20 years ago, and so it looked like a real great opportunity for kids and also for staff to connect and get back. So without further ado, it's my honor to introduce Michael Schneider and Christina Klassen from Castleview High School, and also our Director of Operations and Maintenance, Bo Bacon. And I think they have some kids here to present to you.
All right, hi, my name is Caden Russell. I'm Alan Kopp. I'm Gregor Common.
And Lane Spees. So, this is our Project Citizen project, and we have presented to Castleview High School students, parents, and faculty, as well as the Colorado State Capitol.
According to the Center for Public Education, 12.6% of students were not graduating on time. When these students were asked why they were struggling, they gave answers like, I don't like my teachers, the classes are too hard, and I don't see how what I'm learning is going to benefit me in the future. These students shouldn't be ignored. These students are a part of our community, and it's our responsibility to provide them with alternative learning styles like our proposed apprenticeship program.
Our plan is to put an apprenticeship program at Castleview High School that will benefit students who are at risk of dropping out or not graduating on time.
These students must be juniors and seniors, and students who are at high risk of dropping out will have priority over the other students. This is a great way of learning because it's relevant to their lives, it's interesting, and the students get to experience having a professional job. Students with a GPA of 2 or lower will have a schedule or a meeting scheduled with their counselor, as well as an email will be sent to their parents. And this will just show our concern for their student or child, as well as it'll show them the opportunity that we're going to provide. At any time, a student can be removed from this program if they don't attend the apprenticeship, if they don't show any interest, as well as if it applies to them, they have to show improvement in passing their classes.
So obviously there's some current policies that are already in place for all of this, but none of them really fit what we're going for. Like vocational training or classroom settings don't really give you the hands-on work you really need to know about the job and how it works. You have an online schooling, but that really takes away your social aspect and how you're going to really learn to talk to your peers, how to get your job interviews because you're really just sitting at home. That's the same thing with homeschooling. You're really taken away from all those other aspects that are really important to getting jobs and knowing about how your future career is going to work.
So there are multiple advantages to our program. The people who are going to benefit are the students, the businesses, as well as the schools. Right now, 46% of students drop out because of a work-related issue. This way, students can have work but also graduate. It's also a hands-on experience and sets a base for their life where they can learn skills like responsibility. The businesses are going to benefit because they're training their future employees, they're receiving free labor, and it helps the community. Schools will benefit because it will help the dropout rate, which is going to increase funding, and it is at no cost to the school. There are also a few disadvantages or challenges, such as students who won't try or apply themselves. There's also a possible lack of business support, and transportation could become an issue, seeing how students must provide it themselves.
As with every new policy put in place, there are a lot of steps that we need to take in order to accomplish our goal. The first thing we did was make an action plan, and we've already executed a lot of the things we wanted to do. We have gained a lot of support from our community, like from our CASVU staff, local businesses, Superintendent Liz Bacon, and parents in our community through other presentations that we've done. The next step is to gain your support so that we can make it actually happen. We could also never have enough local business support. After that, our plan is to implement this into CASVU High School this coming spring semester, and if all goes well, we'll spread it and we'll implement it in all of Douglas County, Colorado, or even the entire country.
This is our community, these are our schools, and it's our problem. Our program will not only benefit the student participating, but also benefit the businesses that will be assisting. The more successful individuals are, the more successful our entire community will be. We are very passionate about this project and we need your support to make this a realistic possibility. And now we have Mr. Bo Bacon, who would like to say a few words about our presentation.
Thank you. Good evening to each of you. I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak out on behalf of operations and maintenance and support of the work that these students have done, very insightful work that these students have done, and the work that they're continuing to do. So great job to you guys. Again, my name is Bo Bacon, Director of Operations and Maintenance, which briefly consists of the building maintenance functions, building modifications, exterior operations or grounds, and also custodial operations. And I've had the privilege of meeting with these insightful students, along with teachers and leaders at CVHS, Castle View High School. Appreciate the chance to share a few additional considerations of the opportunity they presented. Our O&M department is truly blessed with a team of skilled professionals. They work within a number of diverse fields, and they've chosen this technical career within the schools, not only because they love the work they do, but also because they're passionate about serving our students and our community. Our people possess the knowledge, expertise, and desire to teach, mentor. I figured that he's driving, I suppose I'm right. We'll go back. Our people possess the knowledge, experience, and desire to teach, mentor, and coach students who have the desire and aptitude to pursue a technical career. Conversations have been occurring between CVHS leaders and O&M regarding this concept of an internship apprenticeship program. And while the details still need to be refined and vetted, I would like to assure you that such a program will be embraced with enthusiasm by operations and maintenance. Wanted to share on this slide briefly just a handful of diverse technical careers that have been discussed between CVHS and O&M, and that our department is able and prepared to support with skilled mentors. While these careers are all technical in nature, they are at the very same time very unique and different. With choice being one of our district cornerstones, O&M will make resources available to support student learning in these fields plus more. Note to myself, I remember when I could work on my car. I don't know how many of you still do or can remember those days. You open up the hood, it was a 72 Dodge Charger, had a block, manifold, carburetor, air filter, that was it. Well, technology has not only changed automobiles, but also the building systems it would service. Things like variable frequency drives, building controls, and automation in today's chillers utilize very advanced technologies. This isn't just strap on a tool belt and go to work type work any longer. So the sophisticated equipment and rapidly evolving technology is demanding professionals with analytical and diagnostic skills, as well as the skills to communicate and collaborate with peers to problem solve. This demand, combined with a shortage of expertise, will almost certainly have a profound impact on earnings potential for people capable of doing this type of work. And finally, the safety, comfort, and health of our students, staff, and community depend on the level at which our processes and building systems perform. Therefore, we can leave nothing to chance. That is why data collection and analysis is a fundamental part of our jobs. Our technicians are constantly collecting and analyzing data from various systems to assist with diagnostics and problem solving. The value of this data-driven work will become embedded in those we mentor so that they will be able to apply these skills in whatever career they ultimately choose. In conclusion, O&M embraces the prospect of teaching and mentoring students to become successful in the technical careers of their choices. Rapidly evolving technologies demanding professionals with the necessary skills to diagnose, troubleshoot, and repair interdependent and complex systems. And the market for these individuals is expanding exponentially, and yet the supply of such personnel is very limited. Therefore, earnings potential and the futures of students may be very bright in this regard. With that, I'd like to thank you and invite questions, please, for the students on this project. I've had an opportunity to dialogue with them, and I think you'll find that they're very knowledgeable in the research that they've done. Thank you.
Any questions? Director Larson. Great presentation. I know you put a lot of work into researching and investigating what would be needed to make this program happen. Do any of you personally think you're going to be taking advantage of this yourselves? Or who have you worked with potential kids specifically that you think are going to be a perfect fit for this?
You know, a lot of us aren't the struggling students that we are targeting, although this is a great program. And later on, if I decide that I want to do something like become a mechanic, plumber, electrician, things like that, I think this program would be great for me. Having off hours already in my schedule, this would fill that and look great in the college reputation if I decide to do it later on.
Have you had, I know you talked about the different steps and this is one of them, so what's been some of the feedback from the students that might be the ones to be directed and take advantage of this program?
We haven't found any real evidence, but we are planning this semester to do a survey with the students and juniors and seniors at our school to see how the kids would actually do it. And a bunch of people that I talked to said that they considered it and that it was an actual program that did.
One of the kids on my football team that have been in other school for academics that I talked to about it said that they would probably look into that. I asked my coach what he thought. He was very, very supportive of this idea, and they said it would definitely help kids stay on track, especially during season.
Thank you. I'll be very interested to see how this follows through the next step.
How has the support from the business community been from, have you gotten the support that you're looking for from the community?
I know I've talked to a couple of local businesses around my neighborhood, and all of them said they would love the help and support and the opportunities they would get to teach students how to do hard work and know what they're doing and help out their business. So I've seen a lot of positive feedback from all of them.
Also, at the open house we had at Castleview High School, there was multiple businesses who were just parents of students at the event who were really excited about this program and wanted to have kids be at their business and helping them out.
Anyone else? Well, thank you very much. Oh, Dan?
I did want to let you know that we have connected them with Christy Pegg, our Career and Technical Education Coordinator, to make these internships more connected to the district. So I applaud these students for bringing this fabulous idea forward. There's also two people that are trying to hide in the back that need to come up to the front. Mr. Schneider and Ms. Clausen, if you'd please come up to the front here. If we could give them a hand on their way up. So, Mr. Schneider is great at hiding. Ms. Clausen, thank you for stepping up front and taking your applause. I would like to share with you that we have two other student groups that we're going to be bringing forward in September. It was very rich grounds for policy discussions with this group of students in the classrooms that these two overlook at Castle View High School. We're very proud of the work that these teachers are doing as well. But the students did a great job, teachers did a great job, and I think this is a culmination of bringing things forward to you to consider. They're actually going to work in our system. That are brought from down in our schools with our students using their great thinking skills about how they can help their colleagues and classmates. So congratulations to all of you, and thank you for being here this evening.
Okay. Next, I'd like to introduce Mr. Ted Knight and Dr. Dana Johnson-Strother. They're here, clear in the back. These are our chief academic officers for the district. Ted is fairly new. Dana is she's almost veteran now. She's over a year. And together they have brought with them several members of their team and folks in our district who have come together to work on a new curriculum written by teachers for students that will prepare our students for the future. So with that, Dr. Strother.
Good evening. I would like to say that I did ask Ted Knight if he would like to do the presentation, but since he's been on the job a total of 3 weeks? 3 weeks, it might be a little unfair for him to present. So I'd just like to give you a little update on where we were with our Guaranteed and Viable Curriculum 1.0, our first version, and where we're at today with 2.0. So over the last 2 years, especially the year before I came here, we've had at least over 500 teachers from all levels and all disciplines come together and work as a group to develop what we consider to be world-class outcomes. And from that, the way we got to that point was we used data from CITE. This is in the revision to 2.0. We sent out 2.0 to teachers to receive feedback and from administrators to see were there any gaps that we had in our curriculum, were there any repetitions. So that's the process that we've been using. This year will be our full implementation of all grade levels and electives. We do still have some outlier courses that we might still have to create world-class outcomes for, but for all the curriculum except for some of those outliers, we will be implementing fully this year. We have also promised that there will be no changes this year because we have changed, as they're laughing, a little bit rapidly over the last 2 years. So we have promised there will be no changes for this year. This is just an example of what the GVC 1.0 looked like, and if you look at this, the very top are our outcomes. We have different varying verbs. Some of them a little bit lower level on Bloom's, and then the majority of it came from the Colorado Academic Standards. That was 1.0, so that's where we started, good starting point. Then what we did is we brought in more teachers. We used the Common Core and the Colorado Academic Standards, and we had teachers look at where those standards were falling, and we found in many areas, most of those standards were only asking kids to apply. We felt that we wanted to be more rigorous in Douglas County, so we had them look at what the Colorado Academic Standards and Common Core were asking, and we upped the rigor of our outcomes so that they now lie in mainly the top 2 levels of Bloom's, so that evaluate and create stage. So we took the standards and we made them higher cognitive levels. We also infused 21st century skills, including the 4 C's where appropriate. This is an example of what they look like currently before they're in Inspired Innovation. So you see that we've added enduring understandings that teachers can choose from, or they can create their own. We also have them organized by the 21st century skills on your left. And then you'll see the world-class outcomes. And you'll see we have evaluate, analyze, and then the process of inquiry obviously is the very high-level Bloom's as well. And we have linked to the 4C rubrics and we have the outcomes listed horizontally and vertically for the grade levels. So we've added that as well. And again, we do have the link to the Colorado Academic Standards. We also, yes, one other thing. We also sent this out, the GBC 2.0, to educational experts that we look to in the district for advice. We talked with each one of these individuals and had them look at it, and they all felt that we are really going in the direction of where we want to go in Douglas County and consider this to be a very rigorous curriculum for our students. I want to turn for just a moment before I ask for questions to the experts in our district. Some were involved, Gina was involved in the evolution of GBC 1.0 to GBC 2.0, and all three of them are going to be curriculum and instructional leaders that are charged with helping their school implement GBCs for this next year. So I will let them speak to you about the process.
Good evening. My name is Ryan Biwa, and I'm the CIL at Ponderosa High School. And one of the things that we're trying at Ponderosa High School is we've made a backwards plan for our feeder area. And we're actually going to try to do a feeder area CIL group. So not only do we have the support within the building, but we also have the support of feeder areas so we know what Sagewood Middle School is doing and the elementary schools are doing. And so we're also getting consistent information as those students go through their K through 12 progression. The other thing too that we're really looking at with this is that change of 1.0 to 2.0, and a lot of teachers right now are having issues with that change. And so how to make that change and motivate them so that it's actually an effective change instead of, oh, I'm just going to do this to get it done for sight, or it's actually for the students' benefit.
Hi, I'm Tisha Ford, and I teach at Mountain Vista High School. And our CIL team is one of the largest, I've been told. We have 10 SILs at our school, so 2 for every major subject area. And that way we're able to cover, I think, perhaps more of the staff and really give them some one-on-one support. We're really taking on that coaching role. We're helping lead the professional development that's starting this week in our different content areas. And there will be some overlap, obviously, with the arts and things like that. But we have created some guidance for them, an overview for them, and then some of our own backward design units that we'll be able to show them that really tight alignment that we learned at the GUDA 2.0, where we not only took a look at the Bloom's verbs, but we also looked at actually color coding our verbs to align them from stage 1 to stage 2 to stage 3. And it's really transformed most of us, our practice and our planning, as far as, you know, we're taking a look at not only different learning tasks, but our performance tasks and going, you know, that may not quite fit with what we're really looking at with the new GBC, and sort of transforming things as a whole. So I think that sort of modeling for us is going to be huge in our school.
Hi there, my name is Gina Landis, and I had the pleasure of starting with Mary at the GBC progression, and then I spent a retreat at Fair Dance, and I helped create a progression from K, preschoolers actually, all the way up to, as our Douglas County High School students lead, what we want them to take. What do we want them to take with them? So as opposed to, we talked about, this is a Google generation, right? We can Google everything. So it's not just this plethora of information anymore. It's what kids can hold on to, what they can be better at, how they can take this information and go much further. I think just to help you understand it, perhaps if you're a little unclear on some of this lingo, is I can share with you something that I did. I teach ancient civilizations, which is Greece and Rome and Egypt and all of those things. So for many years, I have given kids unbelievable amounts of information. In essence, information that they can Google. And instead, I have created my enduring understandings. And my idea is the components and viability of sustainable systems determine success. So what that means is, what are successful civilizations like? What makes a civilization successful? And so my whole paradigm has shifted from just this unbelievable amount of information to what kids can really use. If they're a businessman, they'll see how sustainable their company is. We're going to look at how sustainable Detroit is, because that was a civilization that just fell. So, right, in essence, so is that like Rome? Is that like Egypt? I mean, how can, they can be the decider of that. So I hope that kind of sheds some light on our paradigm shift, if you will. Just giving these Douglas County High School or Douglas County kids something to really hold on to.
I want to thank you all for coming tonight. Before I take questions, I just want to say our department's been very busy this summer. Out of the last 40 days, we have done 23 days of professional development, so we have been very busy, but excited for the next year. Do you have any questions?
Thank you for that information. To what degree is this occurring throughout, building by building throughout the district, and how many teachers collectively are part of this process now?
The process of the curriculum instruction leaders that they spoke to? There are, wow, that's a good question. 200, I believe. I think we have around 100 at elementary and 100 at the secondary.
And there are some at each building for...
Yes, elementary got to choose up to 2. I'm not sure why I keep bending down when I'm short. Secondary got to choose up to 5.
Except for Mountain Vista, they have 10.
That's right, Mountain Vista on the double.
Then from the teachers that you're doing, I'm sensing your excitement sharing this too, but was there any reluctance at first or some doubt, and then how did that transform as you took it to your schools and have more people wanted to jump on because they're kind of catching on with the ideas that you're developing and seeing how that's transforming, like some of you just shared what you used to do and what you're taking forward?
Yeah, I think obviously with any change you're going to have some sort of resistance. And so one of the things that I got from the professional development from Sina Morgan was this analogy of the elephant and the rider in the path. And I think now we have a clear path, and it's motivating the teachers to actually use the GBCs in an effective way and to look a little bit more broader than beyond just their content. And so how can they actually implement that to where it's those skills that are really necessary and not just what you're going to need to know down the road. So for instance, for chemistry, for me, that's the subject that I teach. One of the things that I did is I've rewritten all of the units so that they focus on a career in chemistry. And so there's actually some real life application behind just why am I learning this, but sort of like what those students are saying, you know, it has some applications and how can we actually apply it to the real world. So it's definitely changed my perspective in that sense. And then looking beyond it to our school, I think a lot of the school, or at least at Ponderosa, we're on that upward trend of shifting our thinking and trying to change that model so that it's more global rather than just here's the content area we're preparing for ACT or SAT. And so there's always resistance with that because there's always that piece of I've always done it this way and they've always been successful, but now it's how can they make it even more successful beyond our walls at the secondary level or at the higher level.
I think also the GBCs have been rewritten in such a way that they are very, very global and applicable. And as I started using them to rewrite my own units and rethink some of my own practice, I found them very, very easy to use. And I actually met with my department chair today, and he said, wow, the GBCs are a lot easier to use than I thought they would be, and he was actually very excited. So I think some of that pushback that you might get initially, we're not going to get as much of that, so it's good.
I think knowledge is power, and I think that when teachers, and I think this is what ourselves, our purpose is to help teachers understand some of these acronyms, how they actually work, give them the basics and the background so they can go forward. So it's a kind of a learning process for all of us. I think that makes them much more happy to be able to really understand it.
Thank you. One last question for me. You mentioned, and I'm pleased to hear, I think we're going to have a year where we're going to have these stay in place.
Well.
Yeah, I think there's others that are more excited than I am, but I am excited. You said there's a few outliers. How many, and what would be some of the courses that are still?
That's something that we're also working on this year. The course catalog, going through that and see, I think we have like over 9,000 courses, and we know we need to really cut that down. And so that's something that we're working on this year. Our goal is to cut it by half. We hope we make that. And then that way we can see, okay, now really, what are those outliers that might not work with the current GBCs, that we need to meet with those people and have them write their own outcomes.
Okay.
And just to clarify that, we have courses, that we just continually added courses and courses and courses, and we never really went through and reviewed to say, oh, we don't teach that anymore, or that's transferred into this. And so we ended up with this huge course bank, and it's our responsibility to maintain NCAA eligibility and a lot of other things in that course bank because of the academic integrity associated with your courses and the higher ed credentialing, etc. So part of Dana's charge is to work through with representation from all of our high schools and saying, which of these courses do we still teach, which are the most important, how can we bring this to a manageable number so that we absolutely maintain the academic integrity of each one of these with GBCs to support them, NCAA accreditation and more. So that's the work we're doing, but I don't want anybody to go, oh my gosh, they're gonna eliminate my course, because we're not.
Right, no.
Yeah.
So it's really not so much that the courses necessarily, it's the catalog, the roster.
The list just got longer and longer and longer, and nothing ever came off. And we inherited that, and so we're working on and fixing it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ted, do you want to at least wave? Ted Knight, he's wait, Dana, I think Megan might have a question, but anyway, I wanted you to know Ted Knight, he's the elementary chief academic officer.
You guys did a great job talking about how you saw this being effective for teachers and how you wanted to motivate them to use it. Can you take that a little bit further and talk about how you think that's trying to help students? You know, obviously we talked about just the previous presentation about how students might not feel that learning is relevant to them anymore, and obviously with this you're trying to make a huge step toward that.
So speaking specifically of chemistry and how AP Chem is changing their perspective, plus I also am a lecturer at UNC, so I have the higher ed perspective as well. So I know that there's this shift starting to change at the higher ed level of the skills that they need. And a lot of the students who go into a college chemistry class, like at UC Denver right now, the failure rate of their general chemistry is 50%. And it's not necessarily the content. There is some content, but it's a lot of the skills necessary for them to be successful at that level. So using these GBCs, one of the nice things is that they are so global that you can still use some of that content to supplement those GBCs and have those skills that actually are going to make them more successful down the road than just here's a math problem or here's a chemistry problem that you may not remember at the end of the year, because that's the reality of it sometimes. But it's sometimes more the skills that are so much more important, the problem solving, the critical thinking. And even with AP, the rewrite of the AP Chem exam is moving away from some of those just knowledge level questions to now more data driven reading application questions. So using the GBCs and some of those 21st century skills is really, I think, going to help the students be more successful, not only on that assessment, but also down the road if they continue down that chemistry route or down that science route.
I think it's also more than just content skills, it's life skills. So the way that the world-class outcomes in the GBCs are written with the 21st century skills and also essential questions and enduring understandings, it makes it about them. And I learned early on that if it's not about them, there's not a lot of engagement. And so very much the essential questions, if you craft them correctly, the kids already have buy-in from the beginning. So they're very much more engaged and able to apply it not just to skills for the future, but to how they interact with each other as humans. So it's pretty neat.
I agree with all those things, and I see what I love about them is the cross-curricular nature of them. For instance, sustainability of systems and civilization, looking at the sustainability of systems and biology. And I think the kids really need those connections, and when we worked at Bear Dance, it was neat to see the science people were coming up with the same ideas as social studies people, and you could see the buy-in across all curriculum.
So I know some of the teachers at my school still didn't get to the level of the enduring understandings. Like I love the civilizations idea of having a successful civilization. but I think some of the teachers at my school were still bringing it on like the subject level, on the topic level, instead of bringing it to that higher level. And so how are you guys working to coach the teachers through that?
I think that's where the SIL team comes in, is that we're working, we have 4 days at Rock Canyon this year as opposed to just 2, and we're all working together, we're collaborating, the economics team in my department's collaborating together this week to help do exactly what you're asking us to do. And this is, like we said, is a kind of a process. We're on, we have it, we're strong, we're gonna keep it, so now we can apply it.
So you definitely see an improvement then from last year to this year you're projecting?
Absolutely.
Those are good questions.
She always has great questions. Yeah, and feedback, yeah. Well, if we could, I see a bunch of the curriculum coordinators who have worked a lot. When Dana mentioned how much PD they've done in the last however many days, I think that I know there was one Saturday when I drug Olivia to Rock Canyon to work with Gina and Mary on social studies. It was a lot of fun, and we had a great time, and I really enjoyed it thoroughly. But I really want to recognize the coordinators who are here, who have led a lot of this work. So if you are a curriculum coordinator here and you were able to make it, please do stand up. Thank you. And thanks to all of you, Gina and Ryan, everybody who could come. Really appreciate hearing your feedback, and all the work that you've done over the summer has been incredible. And just another example of great teacher leadership on really important core work that I truly believe is going to change the conversation in American education to this higher level. What is it that kids need to know and be able to do to be prepared for their lifetimes, and how is content a vehicle for that development, which is exactly what those STAR teachers just said. So thank you very much, and outstanding presentation. Okay, finally, for superintendent's report, sorry, Dr. Mendoza.
Liz, I just wanted to thank you for providing the leadership in an environment that you're obviously really attracting a lot of talent and a lot of enthusiasm to really carry this out, and your staff as well. So thank you.
Thank you. And finally, we've been promising an HR update on various employment statistics, and so I'd like to introduce Mr. Brian Caesar, who's our Chief Human Resources Officer. He has prepared an update for the board as promised, given that we have made it to August. So with that, Mr. Caesar.
Thank you, Dr. Fagan. Boy, I'm always impressed with the talent in this district. So, not the IT talent. So, just kidding. So, we have our year end. Obviously, you know our year end for HR goes from August 1st through July 31st. And so I wanted to give you a brief recap on where we are through that time frame from an HR standpoint. So last year we showed you some numbers that we had, and this year we now have, because we have some baseline numbers, we have a comparison number for this last hiring season. As you can see here, we hired about 414 teachers last year. We're actually 2 years ago now, and for this year, going into this year, we have 481 hires, new hires on the staff. You'll see in a future slide that we have about 403 people that have exited the organization. So it's a net increase of over roughly 80 teachers plus another 31-year-old. So we have a net growth of teachers into Douglas County. Declines, we're still looking at declines obviously because of the new pay system. We want to make sure that we keep track of those people that are turning us down for pay, and we're still at a pretty meager number of 15 out of the whole 480. But that's a number we're going to continually watch under the new pay system. The next numbers talk about in our mind, is the new market-based pay system working? And what we do is, last year and this year, we compared it to the old step and lane system. And what this shows, similar to last year, the numbers are very, very similar, is that we had a big deviation between the high and the low of where people would have come in under the old step and lane. So our total range this year was over $33,000, which tells us that there is a difference in supply and demand in the marketplace for these different positions, and that they do command different pricing. So now you can see the total range of 33 versus 47 last year. The average number under the step and lane versus over. and the total numbers. The other thing to look at that we want to continually watch is the years of service. We have over 2,300 years of service coming into the district this year. We're maintaining about an average of 5 years on our new hires. We had over 90 or 93 people with over 10 years of experience coming into the district, and the most in that regard was somebody with 32 years. So that's just a little brief overview on the hiring statistics, but the people that are really close to their hiring season, I want to give a couple people a minute to talk about. Don Bell has some experience with the hiring season.
Good evening. I'm Don Bell. I'm the Director of Special Education for Douglas County. This year we had a number of positions that we had to hire for that had been historically hard to fill positions. We were looking for 15 severe needs teachers. We were looking for 14 speech language pathologists and 5 SED teachers who work with our students with emotional disabilities. And those are typically hard to fill positions. In the candidate pool that we got this year, and all of those areas are in Band 5 of the pay scale, we got a very deep pool. We were able to screen and test applicants onto the schools for consideration. All of those positions were filled prior to the start of school this year from that initial applicant pool, and all done with one interview round at each site, and they were able to find someone that filled their positions. Historically, that has not been the case. We've done multiple postings and gone back several times to try and fill some of the positions, and we've even started the year with vacancies in some of those positions. So this was a very different candidate pool that we had this year for those positions.
Thank you, Don. And Patty Henrihan.
I've been working with principals and their hiring season this year, and they were really impressed with the quality of candidates that they were able to hire. And I've been out doing some trainings in the schools, and the enthusiasm and the energy is really high in those schools, and they're really looking forward to serving kids the best that they possibly can in this coming year. So you can feel the energy when you walk in. 3 of our schools are back in session, and it's fun to see them and the excitement on their faces and the wide-eyed and ready-to-go teachers that are in the buildings.
So that's just a couple of comments of how well the hiring season went, and I think at the end of this, Rita's going to show a bit of a video on the new hires coming in. So this is the turnover compared to last year, and you can see total numbers. I mentioned we're at 403 versus the 481 coming in, plus the 31-year onlys. The difference here from last year was 10%, this year is 12%. If you did take out the difference, when you map the average of people retiring over the time frame and taking extended service severance, there was a spike this year because we've been sunsetting the program. And because of that spike, that number, if we took that spike out, that number would have been 11%. The interesting thing here is some of the movement. So we're starting to get more data with our newer systems and looking at some things, looking at data we really didn't have in the past. If you look at movement, the blue is people coming into the district and the red is people leaving. So this first set of numbers is Colorado only. So how many people came from other districts into our district in Colorado, and how many left our district for other districts in Colorado. And if you separate out the metro area, that's the second group. So we hired 96 people from other school districts in the metro area and 69 exited. And out of state, same sort of ratios, where we had 99 people come in from out of state and we had 64 people exit. Really?
The only other thing I'd like to mention before I show this video is the fact that in this building, and I think you'll get a sense of this, we were able to capture a little bit of the buzz, but you were able to feel it when you walked in the door here, and not just because of the marching band you're about to see, but I think really people were truly excited about the opportunity of the school year ahead for these teachers.
like a marching band during a summer's parade. Today's hoopla isn't for the students. It's a celebration for teachers who are getting a new start as they march into Douglas County's new teacher orientation at Legend High School in Parker.
A little jittery, a little nervous, but nice welcoming, I have to say. See yourself on near Highlands Ranch High School.
Bobcat is table number 22 downstairs, and breakfast is right at the lodges. Have a great day.
And as the new crop of DCSD teachers wrap up their morning meal,
We can start right at 8:30, so we can start going on. Thank you so much.
it is more than obvious that the passion for teaching and working for its new day in education, an innovative district with world-class objectives, is at the forefront.
Every time I tell people that I work in Douglas County, they're like, "That's such a great district. You should be so thankful that you got a job there." And so yeah, I'm really excited about it.
I think it's so amazing that we're teaching children to become citizens rather than just regurgitate information, and that they're lifelong learners, and seeing them seek out information and become passionate.
There's so many people here, which just proves that Douglas County has just become a magnet for great teachers.
In this district, we're creating a system to capture lesson planning in a backwards design way.
Those are some of the criteria that we consider to be a world-class outcome.
And while working for a school district that is on the cutting edge of an innovative approach to teaching can mean lots of learning, these teachers are definitely up for the challenge.
I came to Douglas County School District because I heard great things about the innovativeness that they're taking, and I'm looking forward to starting my career. I've heard great things about the collaboration that happens here, and I definitely wanted to be part of the team.
In my view, the best school district in America.
With a large group of first-year and experienced teachers coming on board to a different way of instructing students, veteran teachers and administrators have some worthy advice to put them at ease.
So use your strengths, but be humble enough to be a sponge and learn how to be better. Simplify, get around the right people, and I think everything you're going to do is about students, and that's what's most important.
So I hope that you leave here today feeling like the expectations are high, but so is the level of support, and we're all in this together.
And before long, you know these new teachers will know the beat here in Douglas County.
Thank you, Randy. Any questions?
I have some. Back on your first slide that you shared, Brian. That one, okay. So both the amount of average over the step and lane scale is higher than the amount that's average under, and the number of overs are higher than the number under. So mathematically, it has to be that what we're the compensation that we set in for these new hires is actually higher in aggregate than under this new program than it was for 7 months.
That's correct.
So that, in essence, is going to be more competitive as an aggregate, and it also frees the resources to be most competitive at all ends of the spectrum that we want to be able to compete. Would that be a fair statement?
Yes.
All right. Thanks.
So I was looking through this report on our strategic plan, Reinventing American Education, which has got some great numbers in here. So last year we had, well, I guess for this year, we had 26,500 applicants.
We actually, from the certified ranks, we had about 46,000 applicants. That was the number that we ended up with for this hiring season.
46,000 applicants to work in this school district?
Right.
For how many openings?
Well, the number of openings depends, because if you look at it, you could say we had 481 openings, but the number of postings was more than that. Because what we do is we post it, and then if somebody applies internally for that position, then we have to post the backfill. So the postings were more than the actual openings. But we hired 481, so that was the openings through that time frame, that 1 year.
Mm-hmm. So let's go to the chart you had on incoming versus outgoing. So talk about the 155 there that are coming in. They're in Colorado from other districts. And then you have 99 from, I assume, are those folks currently employed in other school districts, or are they in other professions?
The ones that you see here would be employed. The out-of-state would be employed, but we had district information on them and where they came from and which states they came from.
And the basic thing that tells me, though, is we've got considerably more teachers that we're attracting from other school districts than are leaving here to go to surrounding ones, which I guess I'm a little confused because I keep hearing that teachers are fleeing Douglas County.
Yeah, I've heard that too, but the numbers just don't bear that out.
Facts. Facts are stubborn things, right? Once again, we find that when the facts are actually in, we get an accurate view of things. Yes, Director Lee.
Is there any one particular school district that we saw a lot of movement from to Douglas County?
I think I'd have to go back and look at the exact numbers, but we did see a little bit more from the Jeff Show and Aurora areas and a little bit of Littleton too.
The TEL survey, which surveys on a number of questions, I noted, we asked teachers what their attitude is toward the school district and various programs. And in 67% of the categories, 67% of the questions that were asked this year, the rating satisfaction level went up. And 30% stayed the same, and 3% went down. Is there a general sense that we're seeing a lot of improvement in that area too?
Just being at the new hire, the new teacher orientation and the enthusiasm there, you have to think that that's not just a one-year blip, that it's going to be a trend. So I can't imagine anything that trend's not going to continue.
So would you say that we have more first year, like teachers that is this is their first year of teaching and the younger, or do we have more experienced teachers coming into the district, and how do you think that affects the teaching that they're going to do?
That's a great question, and what we do is we look at the balance. So we meet with each principal individually, and we look at their average tenure, and we suggest to them, obviously we don't tell them because we want the best candidate, but we suggest to them that if they have a low tenure, that maybe they should hire more seasoned people. And in fact, we had a couple of principals come to us this year and say, we're changing the hiring game plan. We want people, because we have a lot of new ones in that one particular school, they wanted to bring an experience to help coach and train and develop. So we watched that ratio, and in fact, all those numbers that you see up here, when we figure out the average experience level for each of the new hires at about 5 years average, we make sure that we maintain some consistency in that. So again, last year we hired somebody with 34 years of experience, this year 32. Our averages this year on years of experience were the same. And the number of new hires, we always want to balance that with the ability to work a manageable, strong teacher induction program.
Director Mendoza?
Brian, thank you. Why do you, in your opinion, why do you feel there's an enthusiasm for some of these new hires, and then conversely, why do you think some other people might be less enthusiastic, some of the teachers?
It's hard to say, because what drives enthusiasm is a lot of personal individual feelings, but you can't argue with the fact that we've got a lot of change and innovation and doing things differently in Douglas County. And for those people that like that, it's one of the shining moments in the country to say, where do you go to? I mean, name another district where you've got so much of this going on in one place. And if that's what you're all about, it's going to attract that enthusiasm.
I was present at the new teacher orientation. It was exciting. One thing I point out is we heard from Pat McGraw a couple times, and also Dr. Fagan, that the expectations are high, and leadership, senior leadership, has been very clear about that. And I sat at the Legend High School table with the new teachers that are there from Legend, and they all came from out of state, except one came from Adams 12 and one came from DPS. And to see the excitement on their face and to feel that excitement there, it was terrific. It really was, and it certainly made me proud. And I know my children at Legend. Actually, I had my first one starting in Legend here in just a couple weeks. But I was incredibly impressed with those new teachers there.
So was I.
One area I noticed you haven't been doing more hiring in, though, is central administration. In 2009, the central administration had 68 staff, and today you have 46. So once again, I just want to congratulate the superintendent on that. I think that the citizens of Douglas County would be quite pleased to see those numbers, because that's exactly the message I get out there, is you got to cut this administrative bureaucracy out and put more money into the classrooms. And people are always shocked to learn that we have the lowest per pupil funding of any school district, any large school district in the state. And we operate at considerably lower per pupil dollars than any other school district, and we get the highest results of any school district in the state. Our ACT scores are rising. Our graduation rate in the last 4 years is up from 82% to 87.5%. More money's going into the classrooms. We're reducing administrative overhead, paying teachers better, and attracting 46,000 job applicants. Well done. Thank you. Director Silverthorne.
On a previous slide, you talked about the spread a little bit, and I don't necessarily have questions about the specific numbers, but I wonder if you could talk a little bit about the response that you've gotten. I know that people generally moving between school districts will see themselves facing a cap of how many years experience that school district will grant them, regardless of how many years they actually have. So here we don't necessarily have that same set of constraints. However, we do have perhaps other constraints. So I wonder if you could talk a little bit about the response that you got, where the constraints change, and you have new applicants that are coming in that may not be facing that cap. And you have this individual with 32 years and that sort of thing. So can you talk about that?
Yeah, the nice thing about the new pay system is some of those restraints are not there any longer. So you mentioned the one about the years of service, that they grant so many. A lot of them are granting 5-6 years of service for most positions and more for harder to fill. But there's really no clear line of sight to how that operates. And we don't have those constraints in the market-based pay system. The other thing that we don't have is we don't have the cap out in the step and lane. So if somebody's over the range, they can still get, albeit maybe in a lump sum, they can still get compensated for the work they performed in that year. So a lot of the restraints under the old system are eliminated in the new market-based pay system. And I think the receptivity has been great. One of the things in the old step and lane is, you say you look at experience and you look at education level and boom, you pick your number. Here, because we're a district of choice, we can say we can pay more if you have artful learning or some other certifications that are specific to that school, that we can now reward those people and attract them to our district. So a lot of those restraints are off with the new system.
And speaking of the 46,000 applicants, are you talking about unique individuals or just specific applications, or do you have a way to winnow that down to what the actual number of individuals were?
I haven't looked this year. The first part of your question was the number of applications, not applicants. And I think, and I'd be guessing at this, but I think we're roughly around 7.2 applications per applicant. So you can do the math, but we're still at a pretty big number.
I appreciate all the work that I know this is not a small set of analysis here, although you kind of boiled it down very well for us, so thank you.
I have one other question. It was reminded, while the questions from others were coming up, over the course of the summer, we had the chance to talk to some community groups and present some of the information we had at the time and get some feedback. And the question that came to me that I want to relay, maybe you know it, maybe we need to research it, is for those that left the district, and I think you have to look at it in two different ways. Those who retired are certainly going to have a lot of years of service. So I think it'd be interesting to know what that was. But for those that chose to go into another district and teach, what was the similar kind of years of experience and levels they were at going out, compared to what now we're bringing back in as well?
Yeah, that'd be a good number to know, and I'd love to get that from other districts, because I'm assuming if we're not there yet, we're gonna be at a point where obviously with our pay system, we can attract people with more years of experience, because if they're capped out at a certain level, and we're not, where do you go if you want to find a position? But you also raised a question about people leaving, and one of the things that comes up is how do you capture some of the information from those that are exiting? And we have an online exit interview survey, and that only goes out to people that have their personal email address on file with us. And we have roughly about 50% of the people have their personal email address in the system. From that, we send out an automatic exit interview, and we're getting about a 50% response rate. And we also, although this is our busy time of year in HR, we still haven't turned down a single person that called us and said, can I have an exit interview?
So what's the interaction process when you have new hires with your office and HR and the principals in the schools? I know one thing we as a board have talked a lot about is wanting to give the principals particularly more local control. Obviously, we're cutting these layers of administrative bureaucracy out. We're empowering the principals over their budget, over their hiring, and the operation of the schools, along with the school accountability committees. So how does that process unfold when we have openings?
Well, the vast majority of the control is within the principal. So the principal has full reign to look at all the applicants, to use the weed out questions that may or may not apply to the position. For instance, do you have a degree? To look at those applicants, to set up their own team of interviews, to decide who their candidate is. The only place that HR comes into the process is on the salary side. So what we don't want to do right now is give the principal the feeling like they have to come in and hire somebody that's got a little bit of experience because of a budget constraint. So we don't have any ties to a budgetary inhibitor. So after they find their best candidate, then it comes to HR to set the salary and the within the district.
But there is budget limitation.
If they have extra...
So Bonnie then figures out the average teacher salary. Thanks, Bonnie.
All right, that's all my questions. Are there any others?
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, now we'll go to the public, we have board reports. Are there any board reports and then public comment? Do any of the members have items to report on? Yes, Director Larson.
Tomorrow morning, I've been invited to participate in Metro Mayor's Caucus, where there's going to be pro and con conversations about the Initiative 22 that's on. It's no secret I'm on record of being against it. It's going to be actually detrimental to Douglas County in terms of taking resources for what we can do locally and more efficiently. I think the state will return Douglas County 50 cents on the dollar. I want to protect against that encroachment. So I'll be doing that tomorrow morning.
All right, we'll move to public comment, and folks will have 2 minutes each. Okay, we have Gary Colley.
Well, good evening, Board of Education. I want to make a comment that I've heard quite often, is that the Douglas County School Board members continually emphasize their belief that parents and family knows what's best for their kids. Truly agree with that. However, this belief should be demonstrated by a more vigorous and transparent process to ascertain where the community stands on key issues affecting the kids in Douglas County. Now, a curious thing happened. I am a Republican, and I was selected to represent voters in my area for the official 2013 Republican survey. They made a statement in there that we must stand together and make our voices heard in order to impact issues at the national level. Well, there are many educated and sincere community members who agree that we must stand together and make our voices heard in order to impact issues at the local level, because that's where we can have an impact. So we are working tirelessly with potential board candidates and other grassroots activists to organize our opposition to any board of education that's not willing to properly engage the community that is selected to serve. Any school board member that advocates for an obvious partisan agenda and accepts money to influence their election for that purpose shouldn't be elected to the board. The Douglas County community will hold future Board of Education directors to a higher standard of accountability. Now, I don't know if I can get through all of these points here, but there are some excerpts from this survey where I revised the language a little bit to compare it at a local level. So they're referring to the President of the United States, won re-election, but he did not win the right to ram his agenda. Oh, I'm out of time. I'll post this on a Facebook so you can read it, and I'll give copies to Nona. But I really encourage you guys to find ways to effectively engage your community.
Sean Cousins. Nona, I noticed you had some folks from the STEM school on there canceled out. Did they all cancel out? So is Sean Cousins here? I think he was with the... how about Jean Medberry?
Alright, so... Hi, my name's Esty. The other day, I went to Newmont Laboratories for a field trip through STEM, and I was asked to come and share about some of my experiences. And at Newmont Labs, they explained to us how using science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, how not only we're learning it in school, but how we're going to put it towards our everyday life when we're older and we have our own career. While we were there, they showed us many different chemical reactions, such as making ice cream out of nitrogen. They also had us take drinking water from everybody's house, and we did water samples to find out how many different minerals were in it. But I guess STEM, this whole point of it is not only just going and learning it in school and then forgetting it, but one of the questions I've had in a lot of my classes is how am I ever going to put this information into my real life career when I'm older? But this opportunity showed me how you get to take math, science, engineering, and technology. You have to have the technology to be able to enter in all of your numbers and find out how much of a liquid you're supposed to use for your chemical reaction. And it's just a whole huge chain reaction that all of this. So it was just an awesome experience. And the mining that they used, they showed us how to extract gold from like lead and just a whole bunch of awesome stuff. So I just want to thank you for that experience on the school board and for just helping me understand how not only learning everything we have in school, but how to put it into your career as well. Thank you.
Okay, we have Stephen Allen.
Mr. President and honorable board members. My name is Stephen Allen. I'm a resident of Douglas County, a taxpayer, and a father of an elementary school age student who will be starting 4th grade this next week. I would like to thank this school board for expanding school choice in this school district and implementing innovative and common sense free market reforms. As you know, Douglas County is receiving national attention as the first public school system in the nation to use a free market approach to paying teachers. As a voter and taxpayer, I support these reforms and the expansion of school choice. I particularly appreciate the new charter schools opening in the school district and the provision of vouchers to help students pay tuition at private and religious schools. Given the fact that so many Douglas County residents pay a large portion of their taxes to fund public education, we have a right to demand that artificial barriers between public and private school be broken down and that students and parents be empowered to direct the funds to secure the best education they can choose. In a recent article published in the Huffington Post, U.S. Senator Rand Paul from Kentucky stated, "One of the most important things we do as a society is educate our kids. Opportunity in education is a gateway to opportunity elsewhere, in our economy, in our society, and in our democracy. We have a system in which politicians and bureaucrats have too much control, parents have too little, and students' needs get lost in the shuffle. Big government, even at its best, is inherently inefficient and too easily distracted from core missions by special interests. Choice breeds competition, which is the best way to improve schools. It creates a powerful incentive for schools to get better, which at the same time creating much needed options for children trapped in less than satisfactory schools. That is exactly what we see when public charter schools are allowed to expand." Dr. Martin Luther King said, "Intelligence plus character, that is the goal of true education." Dr. King's definition of true education is reflected in the types of young men and women and that parent-driven, local control school choice continues to produce. Thank you for having the fortitude not to accept the status quo here in Douglas County. Thank you for having the vision that we can do better for our kids. You have modeled the necessary leadership and have shown our community what it will take to if we truly want the next generation of leaders and to be educated and engaged.
Did you just start the time over?
Why would we want anything less for our kids? Thank you.
Yeah, seriously.
Kathleen Bannister.
My name is Kathleen Bannister, and I'm one of the teachers that retired this past year. I did not retire for the severance that was offered because I did not qualify. I didn't retire because I was afraid of accountability, as I was rated as highly effective. I retired because the district is unsupportive to the point that it's damaging to the students. Teaching is not what you do, it's who you are. I see everything through the filter of a teacher. When a child hurts, I hurt. When a child succeeds, my heart sings. They are not just students to me, they are part of me, and I am invested in them. For the first time in my life, I felt that I could do more good for my students outside of the classroom than inside of one. I can give them a voice. I can fight for them without worrying about losing my job. Over the past few years, my class sizes have increased. This past year, the ratio of teacher to students was 1 to 33. It became impossible for me to establish close personal relationships with my students and to meet their individual needs, and I worried constantly that they would slip through the cracks. This past year, I was not allowed to proctor my entire class during the TCAP because the teacher-student ratio was 1 to 30. According to you all, I should be able to instruct these students with world-class outcomes, but the state wouldn't even allow me to proctor a test for the same group when I was just reading from a script. Students deserve to have teachers focused on them and their needs. They do not benefit from having their teachers focused on putting together an e-portfolio to prove they're effective or to learn how to write backward lesson plans with just the right buzzwords. Too many of our hours are spent jumping through hoops to prove our effectiveness at the cost of our effectiveness. Students deserve to be in classrooms in a school that exudes and instills the love of learning. I have never in my 14 years as a teacher in Douglas County seen such low morale among the teachers and support staff. In the last couple of years, sped services have been cut, support staff has been cut, and an emphasis on test scores has overshadowed what is truly important. Teachers are no longer allowed to teach with their own unique gifts and styles. Our hands are tied by this board and administration. I find it ironic that a board which claims it does not want cookie-cutter kids, but come up with a system that tries to create cookie cutter teachers. Our children deserve so much more. Thank you.
Who? We couldn't hear.
Gail Bond? Dalen Larch Sigmund.
Or Shane, thank you. I really had to dig deep to find the words to say to you all tonight. John, here are the facts for you. I've spent most of my entire career here in Douglas County asking what's best for kids. I empowered my young students to be the best learners, friends, and citizens they could be. I taught them important life skills such as active listening, working cooperatively, showing respect, and respecting differences. These are all things you say you do, but to quote Justin Williams from one of his finest Facebook posts to a high school student, I call BS on you. In fact, if you do value and respect your great teachers like you say you do, you would be very concerned why they are leaving in droves, and you would probably know who I am. I am the 17-year-old veteran teacher in Douglas County who needed another year leave of absence to take care of my son who needed a bone marrow transplant after fighting 2 years of cancer. You, the board, denied my principal's request. She knew what a great teacher I was, and she wanted to keep me at no cost and no risk to all of you in this district. She appealed from out of state, by the way, without me even knowing. I was still waiting for the decision. And Liz and her cabinet said, quote, "It is a bad precedent to set to extend an already extended leave." I had to take care of Austin, so I was forced to resign. Brian Caesar said I would need to reapply this year as a first-year teacher. Seriously? I appealed that one and I won. I've been in the district since '93 with exceptional evaluations. I had a reading specialist certification in my master's. You should have been asking, instead of saying it was a bad precedent to support me, you should have been asking, what can we do for her? Instead, when my son died 4 months ago, he was a student of your own at Thunder Ridge. I heard nothing. I received nothing. I saw nothing from all of you who support your teachers so amazingly in your own words. So I hope that you can understand that while I am resilient like our kids, I'm executive director of a fabulous foundation. I started my own business and I've written a book. You guys get none of the recognition for that, just like in your classrooms. Thank you.
We can't hear what you're saying when they're clapping. Repeat, please. Can you repeat?
My name is Susie McKay, and this is my exit interview. I'm a graduate of Douglas County Schools. My parents each taught more than 25 years here. In my 25 years in Douglas County, I worked in more schools, taught more subjects, planned more lessons, educated more children, and gosh knows graded more papers than this entire school board combined. And while you have had the advantage of spending untold quantities of donated money, selling this community a package of glossy fabrications, I'm going to take my 2 minutes to tell the truth. Know this, your teachers are decidedly unhappy. Most teachers in Douglas County are looking for a way out of the mess that you've created. For some, the promise of the upcoming November elections are enough to keep them hanging on, optimistic and hopeful that sincere people without a national political agenda take the place of the partisan reformers on this board. Tired of being disparaged, mocked, demonized, lied about, sabotaged, and ignored, some will find a way out as I did, by moving to neighborhood districts that still have a vested interest in public education. And while you manipulate the numbers of teachers who have left and tell the press that there's no morale problem, we all know that great teachers are leaving in droves. We know that you spend a lot of money making this a union issue, but you might want to ask for your money back because a growing percentage of our community is smarter than you think, more organized than you realize, and angrier than you know. Parents now know that this district is being stalked by privatization proponents who are looking to pick the last bits of profit off the carcass of a dying public school system. Well, all of the institutes, foundations, and think tanks you have waiting in line are going to have to starve or look somewhere else to fill their bellies, because November is coming and this community has had enough. I love my students, and for 21 years I love my district. But in the end it wasn't enough, so I took my highly effective status and used it to find another job. So, although No McKay has missed the first day of school in Douglas County since 1962, I won't be there on Monday when the kids come. And I guarantee, like the 400 plus who have left before me, I made a difference and I will be missed.
Good evening. My name is Sherry Clemens, and I've been a teacher in Douglas County for the past 15 years. I've loved Douglas County since the day that I started working here, and I've dedicated everything that I am to this district. Director Richardson came to my classroom and observed me teaching my 4th and 5th grade classes. Afterwards, he told me that the district was designing the pay for performance system for teachers like me. It was going to be a way to reward teachers like me. After working hard this year to achieve my highly effective rating, I was called in as the first teacher at Trailblazer to go in front of a review panel for my evaluation. On the day of my evaluation review, I asked my director for a copy of the legal notes that he had that day. In his email response to me, he told me, and I quote, "There are no rewards for reporting all that happens within the district." I'm not sure why this statement was said to me, but it felt like a direct threat to me personally. It felt like I was being told to stay quiet, or there would be no rewards for anything that was shared outside of the district. After that, my highly effective rating was dropped to effective. As a result, it's with a broken heart that I stand before you today to tell you about the reasons why I have now left Douglas County to go to another district. It's not from a fear of accountability, and it's not because I'm afraid of change. It's because I want to work in an environment where I'm respected for the work that I do and not threatened and intimidated to stay quiet. Director Richardson said it best, pay for performance was designed for teachers like me, and it's the actions of this district that have now driven me away.
Oh, you are, okay.
Good evening, I'm Francie Thompson, and I feel fortunate to live in Douglas County, where there is an abundance of options to choose from and choosing what's best for my kids. I think one of the reasons that sets Douglas County apart from other districts is the abundance of amazing teachers that teach here. My kids have been fortunate to be in the classrooms of these amazing teachers. My son's art teacher from first grade is responsible for me having pictures to hang on my refrigerator door. Prior to her, he would crumple up his drawings and he never finished. One day he came home and he said, "My teacher taught us about Picasso, and I learned that my drawings do not have to be perfect." Another example of an amazing teacher is my daughter's 5th grade teacher. She used technology like no other teacher I had seen up to that point. The joy of teaching exuded from her. She thoroughly enjoyed what she did. Allison would say she is the best teacher because she makes learning fun and she challenges me. These are just two of many amazing teachers my kids have been blessed to have. I am very pleased to see the reforms such as pay for performance and market pay the district has put in place in order to continue to attract highly effective teachers. As we know, the quality of the teacher in the classroom matters more than anything else. Keep up the good work. Thank you.
Keith Edmonds. Turin Friola. Denise Denny.
Good evening, board. I'm a former teacher, I'm a grandmother of students in Douglas County, and I've just been here tonight to say a word in support of transparency. Transparency of the board and all of their open forums have been inspiring to me. I watched a podcast from last board meeting, and I have to compliment John Carson for your gentlemanly response, because to me, all that we're hearing in criticisms about the board not being transparent, to me that was an obvious story, because it showed that board members are there to answer questions. They're not afraid of controversy. And I would just like to say that as a grandmother, that's the kind of thing I want our students to learn. So thank you very much.
Debbie St. Martin.
I'm Debbie St. Martin, a retired teacher of Douglas County as of June 2013, after 13 years at Arrowwood Elementary. I am here tonight to state in a public forum my reasons for retiring 2 years before planned. I loved going to work. I loved what I did. I was innovative each new school year, looking at the needs of my students, seeing what was best for them. But that joy for teaching began to leave 3 years ago. I retired because I do not agree with the philosophy and direction of the board and administration. I cannot embrace corporate education reform, a result of No Child Left Behind, introduced in Douglas County 3 years ago. Data from experts show the direction of this reform is not best for students, nor has it created equity for all students. The growth of the fund budget balance and the money not being used to ensure every school has adequate funding to provide equity for every student in every classroom is not best for students. Site-based budgeting does not provide that equity because it's all about numbers and not about the real needs of the school. Class sizes are too large. My last 3 years, I had 34, 33, and 31 students in 5th grade with little or no extra help. How can these students compete with other students coming from smaller class sizes with adequate support and supplies? Teachers were evaluated with a system that was not complete and was ever changing throughout the school year. It was confusing to both site administrators and staff, not equitable between schools, and was not as set up to differentiate between different teaching roles. One size does not fit all. Decrease in high school instructional hours and graduation credit requirements for students. Where's the rigor in that thinking? As a result, according to CDE, no longer is Douglas County accredited with distinction. During my administration classes, a question was asked of our instructor. What do you do when you are asked to implement a policy you do not agree with? The answer, you put your keys on the table and you walk away. So, at the end of this past school year, I put my keys on the table and walked away, since I could no longer work in a district where actions and decisions being made and philosophy embraced does not reflect best practices and equity for all our students. I believe the integrity that had been the foundation of Douglas County School District for years has been compromised. The bottom line, morally and ethically, I had to take this step. Thank you.
Trustee Kelsey Alexander.
I don't come to these meetings very often. I depend on you elected people to represent me, and I appreciate your doing that. But I guess there's some controversy going on, and I thought I'd come speak my piece for my 1 minute and 50 seconds. One of the prime laws of economics is, in scarcity there is value. And as I look at this pay for performance system, it's got to have something to do with in scarcity there's value. That's why we pay more money for things, because they're scarce. That's what makes them valuable. So I thought about how valuable is a teacher. What's a teacher worth? What's an okay teacher worth? And what's a great teacher worth? Think back to your years in school, and you had some good teachers. You probably had some okay teachers, and I hope you had some great teachers. Earlier this evening, we all saw students that have excelled in various programs. We saw improvements that you've made in the curriculum to make it the best that it can be. So we just want the best curriculum, and we want the best teachers. We want all great teachers in Douglas County. We want them all to be great for our kids. So I want to thank you for giving an incentive system to encourage all of our teachers to be that great teacher that you probably have. As a taxpayer, as a community member, as a parent, as a certified teacher. Thank you for encouraging all of our teachers to be great teachers through your Pay for Performance program.
Kristen Patterson.
I'm Kristen Patterson. I'm a parent in Douglas County, very concerned about the direction that the district is going. I came here to read an exit interview comment from a teacher who just left this year, Callie Fosh. Pretty much the reasons we've all heard already, however, that the money is not working out fairly with the pay for performance evaluation system. The treatment of them is not good, but you're going to hear about that left and right, but instead I'm responding to what I've heard tonight, and I'm concerned that I heard Ryan Caesar tell us that everything is fine and teachers are happy, morale is happy. I heard a new hire on the video come and say, everyone comes up to me and says, you're working in Douglas County, you're so lucky. But I have to tell you, all summer long, I've been outside of our district, Cherry Creek schools, Littleton schools, Jeffco schools, every place I go, Pueblo County, and I tell people I'm from Highlands Ranch, I do not solicit anything about school, but it comes up, oh my gosh, what is going on here? Oh my gosh, all that rhetoric that you keep saying is out there, but you don't seem to think is happening. It's happening, and I just don't understand how nobody is seeing that. And to your comment about the transparency, I'm glad that you watched the video of these meetings. However, I think that if you're basing your knowledge on the district based on those videos and these meetings, you're missing quite a lot of information. I would go to DouglasCountyParents.com or Speak for Douglas County Facebook page. And get out there and look at all you can possibly do to learn about the issues that are going on, because it's not just what you're hearing here. All of these reports from our admin are coming out so shiny for us, they're not addressing the concerns of the teachers. And I don't quite understand where that's coming from either, other than they're intimidated to speak the truth.
reading tonight an exit interview from Linda Khan-Nui, who was not able to be here tonight. While there were many factors affecting my decision to retire and take a teaching job elsewhere in the world, the biggest reason that prompted me to look into other options was the positions and behavior of the school board and superintendent. My situation was such that I could choose to leave. I was lucky. Many friends are in the position of being unable to change districts and keep their same level of pay. And what other district in Colorado so devalues their experienced people that even highly effective teachers above market stand to actually see less money? In the 6 years I taught in Douglas County, I saw my average middle school class increase by 8 to 10 students. When I began in the district, I had the opportunity to take professional development courses with the union-sponsored team and receive a stipend for a reasonable amount of work and time. This past year, I put in many hours to get a small professional growth stipend into a district class that consisted of a failure-prone webcast with a renowned ed researcher who advocates the opposite direction of where we are going. I used to be proud to teach in DCSD, and now I'm gone. The emphasis on some ridiculous interpretation of a corporate model for public education has already proven a failure. The harping still on the mythical union boogeyman absurd. The pay bands are the most heinous, a license for division and anti-collaboration. The amount of turnover at my old school home was unparalleled. I greatly love my students, schools, and coworkers. I am not afraid of accountability. I was afraid of the amount of time I spent jumping through supposed 21st century hoops would destroy my time and ability to provide my students with the best learning experience possible. And now I'm going to speak about another teacher you are familiar with because I met with her and Kevin Larson last winter. She retired this year after 17 years in DSCD. The qualification for getting the $35,000 retirement bonus was having taught here for 15 years. Yet she didn't get that bonus because her first 4 years were spent in Douglas County charters. You offered to give her the bonus if she stayed an additional 2 years, but she turned you down. She preferred to give up almost $40,000 than stay here for 2 more years. She was rated highly effective.
Appreciate the time again tonight. Thanks a lot. I'm going to start off my comments tonight by sharing with you a quick story, and trust me, it gets back to the topic at hand. I have an opportunity to travel somewhat in my profession, and I caught myself last week having a conversation that maybe many of you in the room have had, where someone asks you about the ski resorts in Colorado and says, which one's your favorite? And you actually find yourself comparing Vail, Breckenridge to Merritt Park. And you have to stop and say, wait a minute, they're all good. And I thought about that for a second and how that really conveys how I feel about the school district here in Douglas County. I have children in the public schools, and they're in a good school. We'll get back to that in a second. I have friends that go to charter schools, varying kinds. They all have good things to say about those schools. We take advantage of the open enrollment program. I know that's not necessarily you guys, but I think that was good. We'll get back to that, because hopefully we'll get the Choice Scholarship program at some point, because I believe as a parent that will enhance things. With regard to open enrollment, we did that because we wanted our children to stay in a school where they had a support structure, and because we had great teachers. And I want to tell you that was one of the best educational decisions my wife and I have made. She's much more articulate in describing this, but both of our students this year had great teachers, and they connected with them at a significant level. My wife said, and I'm going to quote her exactly, she says, the teachers recognized their potential and pushed them to learn, this was great, beyond their self-imposed limits. And to me, that was fantastic. I'm not sure what their class size was. I'm sure it's gotten bigger, but they found a way to get it done. And as a parent and as a taxpayer, I would hope and think that it is fitting and just and proper. I understand that the principal has to make this decision, but she's going to get my feedback, that they get paid more. I just think that that works. And so I just wanted to say that the pay-for-performance system, in this case, I hope it works, and I think it will. And thank you for it, because I feel that those teachers should be rewarded. And as a parent, I feel like I have a little bit more say into that. So appreciate it.
Brian White.
Good evening. My name is Brian White, and I'm a parent of 2 young children currently enrolled in Douglas County. I'm a taxpayer, a voter, and a former teacher in the Douglas County School District. I'm here tonight because I was asked to tell my story, to tell you why I'm leaving the school district. I agreed to do it not because I think you care, because I know you don't, but because I will do everything I can to support the students, parents, and teachers in Douglas County. Seriously, if you really cared about why teachers are leaving, the regime wouldn't have sent me an exit interview a week ago, which asked me questions such as whether or not I felt that orientation, which was 5 years ago, was helpful. Not one question on the exit interview was designed to get to the reason as to why I'm leaving. As much as I hate to do this, let me tell you a little bit about my short career in Douglas County. I was on a series of one-year contracts during my first 3 years in the district. My principal brought me back year after year because she saw that I was a good, sometimes even great teacher. My second year, I was asked to step in and teach AP US History. My students achieved a passing rate well above the national average. That same year, I was asked to give up one of my 2 planning periods to teach our district's most at-risk students as part of the RISE program. Yes, I received a small stipend for it, but I couldn't even tell you what the stipend was because that's not why I did it. During my 3rd year, another teacher and I started an RTI class at Thunder Ridge called School Success, which is a class designed to mentor at-risk students and teach them skills they would need to graduate from high school. That class was unbelievably successful. That same year, I was selected as a Thunder Ridge representative for the Apple Award. During my 4 years at Thunder Ridge, I sponsored 5 different after-school clubs. Some of my students and parents would tell you I'm a good teacher. Others would say I'm a great teacher. But I am certain none of them would say that I'm a bad teacher or that I'm afraid of accountability or worried that I can't compete. These comments, the comments that many of you behind the dais have made, are completely disrespectful to the professionals who teach our kids. The low regard you have for teachers is troublesome, to say the least. I am leaving the school district because the board and central administration have no respect for teachers. I am leaving the school district because the board and central administration are robbing our students and teachers of opportunities. I am leaving the school district because the climate created by the board and central administration sucks the life out of teaching. I am leaving because all of you are aware of the morale problem in Douglas County, and not a single one of you have done anything to correct it. I am leaving because your corporate reform model is destined to fail. I am leaving because one of my former evaluators recruited me to the Littleton School District. She knows that I am a good, oftentimes great teacher. The last 4 years have been the darkest years in the history of Douglas County School District. Thankfully, we have just over 90 days before we can turn the lights back on again.
Natalie Spree.
She's coming.
My name is Maria Lauer. I was originally hired in Douglas County as a classroom teacher in 1989. I taught kindergarten, 2nd, 4th, and 5th grades for 8 years before taking some time off to raise my kids. During that time, I was a school volunteer, staff member, substitute teacher, tutor, and even an EA. I went back to school and earned my master's in special ed. I was hired back into Douglas County in 2005 as a learning specialist. So you can tell I'm not afraid of change. When I became a learning specialist, I chose to take on students with many challenges. Year after year, my students made growth, academically, behaviorally, socially, and in the very important area of self-confidence. It's very moving to hear a student with reading disabilities choose to read aloud in front of her peers for the first time. Students, parents, and colleagues have thanked me for what we were able to accomplish together. The 5 principals I've worked under in Douglas County have all been impressed with my work. Feel free to take a look at my reviews. So you see, I am not afraid of accountability. I always assumed I would retire here. This is my community, my home, where my children have been educated. But too much has changed. The voices of those closest to our students, their parents and teachers, are being ignored. District leadership has decided that ideology and national attention are more important than what goes on day to day with our precious young minds. I will not be returning. For me, this is not about money, but about respect. I have heard that Brian Caesar believes that Douglas County is losing the teachers they want to lose. I know many who would beg to differ. You know, those pesky students, parents, and teachers you don't want to listen to. A couple of quotes from a parent. Thank you so much for the fight and hard work with our son over the years. We are so sad that you are leaving. We feel you have been a huge advocate for him. We appreciate that you have gotten to know him as a student and a person and have worked hard to get the best out of him. And from a student, dear Mrs. Lauer, you are one of the best things in my life. I will always remember the things you taught me, how to never give up, and that I am a great person with different strengths, and if I work hard, I can do anything. If I could pick one person from the school to keep in my life, it would be you. Can you honestly tell the students and parents that this is the type of teacher you want to lose?
My name is Natalie Sprigg, and I am a 12-year veteran teacher with all of my experience in Douglas County. During my time in this district, I served on the Discovery Advisory Council, the Math Curriculum Council, and the Service Learning Committee. I was the chair of the Math Curriculum Council, presented several times at school board meetings, in-services, state, and national conferences. I received several grants, was one of the original digital educators, the Walmart Teacher of the Year for Highlands Ranch, and a member of your Gouda team. As the head speech and debate coach at Mountain Vista High School for the last 2 years, I coached 5 students who qualified for nationals, more than any other school in this district. Last year, I was an Apple Award finalist for secondary educators, and I was rated highly effective. And I was never a member of your union. Recently, Mr. Caesar said that you were keeping the teachers you wanted to keep and getting rid of the teachers you wanted to lose. Am I not the type of teacher you wish to retain? I resigned from Douglas County last month due to 4 major concerns I have with the direction of this district. First, choice. If this is a world-class district, the board should support the excellent programs currently available in Douglas County, where choice already exists. If parents want programs and opportunities that are not available here, you need to figure out a way to use the budget surplus to provide those programs. There should never be a need to send our students elsewhere. Second, I challenge you to restore the high school schedule, to decrease the teacher workload and increase student instructional time. High school students are receiving nearly 3 weeks less of instructional time in each class every year, cannot be expected to exceed previous high levels of achievement. Third, fix the flawed site evaluation process and make sure that all necessary tools are in place before implementing it. One only needs to look at the inconsistencies and concerns across the district last spring to understand how faulty site is. And finally, end the flyers, the mailings, and the advertisements for the district, and pour that money back into programs that will improve Douglas County classrooms. When you offer an excellent service that is both free and compulsory, there should be no need for advertising.
Let's see here. Kelly Pointer.
Good evening. My name is Kelly Pointer, and I'm a parent of 2 young sons in our district. I'm extremely concerned about why our teachers are leaving our district. To me, this demonstrates low morale, and I do not believe that this reflects the minority of our teachers. In fact, I believe this is a district-wide issue, and I can't help but wonder if this concerns you as well. Frankly, I'm not seeing and hearing the same things that you guys are. Kim Dassler is another educator who has left our district and could not be here tonight. Here are her comments about why she left. I have taught math in Douglas County for 12 years. I earned a highly effective rating this year. I'm not afraid of pay for performance. In fact, I welcomed the opportunity to prove my worth and earn a better salary. I served on district committees, including the Superintendent's Educator Advisory Committee, to ensure that teachers' interests were represented as pay for performance and other reforms were being implemented. The reality, however, is that I can teach in another district for better pay, even though I only got credit for 5 years of service, better benefits, and teaching 140 students instead of 180. I lost 2 Douglas County School District math coaches this year, while my new district has a coach who's been on the job for years and is offering great support for implementing Common Core, which is essentially RGBC. In Douglas County School District, I wrote a grant to get 8 Chromebooks for my classroom. In my new district, I have a classroom set of laptops waiting for me to use. The saddest part of the story, however, is that my 10th grader at Chaparral has lost 4 out of the 5 of her core teachers: Chinese, honors chemistry, AP government, and honors English. And the English position was still open as of July 31st, even though it was posted before school got out. My child is like many kids in her school, and parents and kids are alarmed. What is to keep this from happening at other schools next year? How is all of this attracting and retaining world-class teachers? And how is this helping our students?
Brad Wan.
Good evening, how are you doing this evening? Wow, it's been a lively conversation. I hear about the people leading the district and what's going on. And, you know, in 2008 and 2009, I stood here before another board and I presented Crowns for Education and I also presented Lotto for Education. We did not have the outcry we have today when we had huge budget cuts, not only recognized by the unions, but recognized by the teachers. People are going to be laid off in droves. But no outcries. None of that was going on, other than for those teachers that were actually leaving the district because they were being forced out. Well, now we're not being forced out, they're leaving on their own. So today what we're doing is we've passed out a little memento to you. And, you know, we just want you to know that my kids, you know, they're not mass-produced, you know, cream filling pastries. They are individuals and they deserve to be educated as individuals and to be funded as individuals. We hear teachers going to other districts and having laptops sitting on their desk and waiting. That's great. Their funding is not like ours. They get more of it than we do, and we need to go to Denver and get more funding for Douglas County. I suggest we rent a bus and we drive down there to the Capitol and we get more funding for our kids, for our district, and for our teachers. Thank you.
All right, last, let's see, this last is David DiCarlo.
Hello. George Satayana said, "Those who cannot remember history are condemned to repeat it." That's the actual quote. It gets screwed up all the time, but that's the actual quote. So history. I'm going to read a brief excerpt from a letter from 2009 to the employees of this school district. Dear Douglas County employees, as you are all well aware, about a year ago we held a bond and budget election that failed. Because of this and the state of the state and the nation, we are seeing unprecedented budget cuts. The Douglas County Federation is well aware of the fact that this has impacted all our employees with more work, less manpower, bigger class sizes, and potential salary freezes. So before most of you were sitting here, this was the case. This started before. This is something that was inherited. Now, Einstein says we can't solve problems using the same kind of thinking that created them. So what we could do is every year go out and beg, and every year be turned down, because it's happened twice now. Once under this board and once under the previous. Or we can do something different and new, because as was stated earlier this evening, we are funded dead last in the metro area, and at the bottom, close to the bottom, 178 districts in the state. And before anybody gets grandiose ideas that a mill or a bond would save us, they won't. Had the last two passed, they wouldn't cover last year's negative factor alone. So we've had to stretch the blanket to the point where it tears. Yes, we've always done more with less, but we've been pushed past what makes sense, much less what was fair. If you don't like some of the reforms, if you don't like some of the things that have happened, if you don't like the way things are going, many of these reforms are the result of the fiscal irresponsibility of your state. Many of these reforms are the result of people who think that wealth is determined by how much you earn, not what you earn in relationship to what you owe. Many people, people that believe that the difference between a median income in Douglas County and a median income in any other county in the state is all disposable income. Nothing can be further from the truth, and nothing can be more of a travesty. It's a lie. We are net givers. We don't have a local solution that is anything more than a Band-Aid, and this board has done everything it possibly can to turn around all those things I just read from the AFT's 2009 pre-election letter. I won't read the rest of the letter. It's available online, but you can see where they went ahead then and wanted to ensure that there were candidates that supported their own position. A position of what? Endless taxation? Taxation to what? I get to speak a lot more and say a lot more, and I don't want to undercut anything that any of the folks that are leaving the district have said tonight. I understand, because it's personal to everybody, but this is what's personal to me. You can only squeeze a quarter so long, then the eagle screams and it dies. And that's pretty much where this district was at. We were at looking at using Tabor and letters of credit, and you guys stopped that. Thank you. It's called financial fiscal responsibility, and it is appreciated. Because some of us don't have endless checkbooks, even though we live in Douglas County and we're so wealthy. So thanks and good night.
All right, I will take a motion to accept the agenda. Motion by Director Williams, I'll second that. Benevento? Aye. Carson, aye. Larson? Aye. Mendoza? Aye. Silverthorne? Williams? Well, now, any questions on the consent agenda? All right, I will make a motion to approve the consent agenda. Is there a second? Motion by Carson, seconded by Larson. Benevento? Aye. Carson, aye. Larson? Aye. Mendoza? Aye. Richardson? He's out. Silverthorne? Aye. Williams? All right, if there's no further comment, we will adjourn. I'll make a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? Motion by Carson, seconded by Benevento. Carson, aye. Larson? Mendoza? Silverthorne? Williams?